part here, and it's actually a Boomba short shift transmission plate. And what's going to happen with this is it's actually going to improve the way you shift, basically the feel of the shift, roughly twice as heavy as the OEM shift plate. So you should have a little bit nicer feeling shifts that just kind of fall into place a little more naturally. So we're going to go ahead, kind of show you guys how to install this. From all the reviews I've seen, it's a pretty tough install. Subispeed's got one, Boomba Racing obviously has one, but after watching their videos, there's kind of a lot left to be desired out of them. Mainly with the roll pin. Subispeed, they just kind of fast forward through the roll pin. They don't show you exactly how to remove it. So today I'd kind of like to go through it, basically show you how the process is going to go here on a 2017 WRX, how I do with the install, any tips or tricks I find along the way, and see how it goes. So first things first, when you actually get your Boomba short shift plate, mine actually came off in the box, but you can see there's this washer, and that washer actually goes right here. So what you're going to want to do is go ahead, put that in like a safe spot. Just make sure you don't lose that. It'll go right here, and it's actually what the shifter, the cable bushing is going to go onto. So the first thing you're going to go ahead and do is grab a jack and some jack stands. We're going to go ahead and jack up the car. Sweet. So now that we've got the car jacked up, you got some decent room to get under here. We're actually going to go ahead and look at what we're going to be working on. So what we're actually looking for is right in here, and you can actually see the stock shift plate somewhere in there. Try and get a decent angle. You can kind of see in there. So basically what's going to be happening is we're going to be taking out this cover and a couple other pieces and trying to get in there and get that stock shift plate out. So let's go ahead and get started. They go ahead and remove this heat shield here. You can see there's 1, 2, 3, and 4 bolts for that. And removing the heat shield should only add just a few minutes. As you can see right here, it's a little bit tight between the exhaust and this heat shield. And this heat shield is a little sharp, so be careful. So now that we've gone ahead and gotten all 4 of our bolts removed, we can go ahead, slide this heat shield out. It just slides out the side. We're going to go ahead and flip this upside down. I'm just going to go ahead and keep my bolts inside here, just so I know those 4 bolts are for the heat shield. I'm going to set that off to the side. So if you watch the Boomba Racing video, they go ahead and remove these 3 transmission supports. So you got one that spans across there, one here, and another. But I'm gonna go ahead and kind of go off what the Subispeed video did. They went ahead and took off this heat shield and went straight for it without removing these. I'm gonna go ahead, try it out, see how it works. And for the shift plate shield, you're gonna go ahead and use a 12mm socket or wrench. Cool. So after you bang away at that, this will come loose. Go ahead and remove this bolt here. And there should just be 2, if you can see here. So remove that first one. Still got 1 more. So go ahead and pull that off. And here is that second bolt to go ahead and take out this shield. Something to take note, if you've just driven, you may want to let your car cool off a little more. Transmission might be warm, so just a little safety precaution. I haven't driven in a few hours, so it's actually a little cool. So go ahead and set that little shield plate off to the side. And here you can see, this is what we're looking for, that shift plate here. So we need to remove these pins here to go ahead and free the cable, little shift cable from the shift plate. So go ahead and grab those pliers, and with the pliers we can go ahead and pull those little safety pins out. We can go ahead and let's try from this angle. This is the pin here. You're going to want to go ahead and be grabbing on this rounded end here, and then it will slide out just like that. Go ahead and grab this washer. Go ahead, put those off to the side somewhere you won't lose them, and this little shift cable should come right out. There may be a little grease on it, so kind of watch out for your eyes. Okay, cool. So we've gone ahead, we've removed that heat shield here, have access to this cable, can go ahead and remove it from the OEM shift plate. And now we can go ahead, come around to the front over here, just above this brace, and you can see this bracket here that is actually holding this little cable housing in place. I'm going to go ahead and remove these 1 and 2. I believe there's just 2 bolts that are holding this cable, and we're going to go ahead, undo that so we can pull the cable out of the way just a little. And for that, you're going to go ahead and use a 12mm socket. Bolt to get to, might be able to stick your socket through this cable here, like so. Can get it on. Cool. So now, same with that top bolt. Alright, so now that we've knocked those loose, we should be able to go ahead and finish the rest by hand. As you can see, once you have those 2 bolts off of the bracket holding in this cable, it'll actually free up some space. Go ahead and pull your cable off to the side. I'm going to put it kind of over here. Looks like the axle's a decent spot to go ahead and rest it. So next step is going to be actually removing this cover that goes over the shift plate. You can see it's like a little heat shield cover. And for that, we're going to be using the 12mm socket or 12mm wrench. So, same as before, just going to use the hammer, knock it loose. So there's 1 bolt here, there's 1 around the bottom, and 1 up top. The one on the bottom seems fairly accessible, should be pretty easy to get to. The one on the top, we're probably gonna have to get an extension with a U-joint. Cool. So now we're working on the second bolt here. It's kind of on the bottom. So we're gonna go ahead, use the hammer, try and free it up. So I can see how taking these supports out would actually help. I make it a little easier to get to. But regardless, that top bolt is going to be a pain in the ass. Cool. So second bolt is off. Set that aside. So as you can see, that top one, I already tried putting a socket. on it. Couldn't get any luck. Couldn't get it. Tried putting a wrench on it. No luck. So I'm thinking I'm gonna go with a socket and a U-joint. Okay, so went ahead, grabbed my 12mm socket, a 3/8 drive U-joint, and an extension, and that should allow us to get in there. Go ahead and remove the rest by hand. That should be the last bolt. Set that off to the side. Okay, so on that shield, I lied. There wasn't 3 bolts, there's 4. The 4th one is on top of the transmission. Pain in the ass to get to. I have that 12mm wrench, it's on there. You go ahead and sneak out from the front. This bracket's kind of blocking me, but it looks like I can get enough leverage, and it looks like I've cracked it loose. Okay. So I guess to try and pinpoint this, that bolt is directly above this little pivot point. So just above that, if you sneak your hand up, you'll feel it. You can get a wrench on there. And you kind of push up into the chassis. Eventually you'll crack it loose. Eventually it comes loose. Good to go. You can sneak your hand through the front of the transmission here and attempt to loosen it by hand. If you don't have small hands, it's gonna be a bitch. Luckily I have tiny hands. Reaching up in here, you can kind of see where it's at by my fingers moving. Go ahead and remove that. To be honest, I'm probably not putting this back on the car. Okay, so it looks like that bolt finally came all the way out. We can go ahead and slip that out. And I believe with the Boomba, that Boomba shift plate, I don't believe this cover will be going back on. The Boomba shift plate is a lot bigger than the stock one. So here, you can actually see the stock shift plate. And so what I'm going to go ahead and do now is I'm going to kind of show you guys what difference it'll make. Once that shifter cable is off, it doesn't really affect it. So you can go ahead, change this manually, but that would basically be as if you, this had to be like first gear. You can see the roll pins right there. Neutral is right here, and if you were in second, third, or sixth, it's about right there. It's gonna make that roll pin a little bit easier to get out. And right here, I'm gonna show you, this seems to be the biggest issue with this install is that roll pin. Watching the Subaru video, one of the little tips it looks like they give you, if I can actually find my tools. There she is they'd actually got in a 5mm punch, and then I believe a 5/16 is what fits the punch I have. And then you can go ahead and grab that extension we were using earlier. Oh, by the way, you're probably gonna cut yourself on this install. I've sliced my hands open a few times, and now that yeah, so you're gonna go ahead, put the extension on there, and you can see this will give you a lot more to work with. And now you just hack away and hope for the best. I'm sure if you had an impact hammer, it might work a lot better. Okay, so I don't know what the fuck just happened. Holy shit. So, everybody complains about this roll pin. Actually, it looks like mine slipped just out. I actually don't even know where my roll pin is right now. Shit. So from all the reviews, I had read that roll pin was an absolute pain in the ass to get out. Mine slipped out in just a few smacks. So now I'm gonna look for the roll pin. Okay, so a little bit of an update on the roll pin. When I knocked it out, it actually sat on top of the transmission. If you have the same issue, you might just go ahead, check on top of your transmission. That's where my roll pin was. Okay, cool. So now that we have the roll pin out, kind of show you guys what's next. Sorry about the lighting, bad angle. It's getting a little dark. But you can go ahead, grab two hands, and just pivot back and forth, nice and easy, with a little bit of pressure to bring it out. Shift plate comes off. And that is what your OEM shift plate looks like. So just to kind of show you guys something, I guess while the two are both out of the car, I'm gonna kind of show you, that's the difference. They're very similar in size. So it looks like the cover might fit. I'm probably not putting mine back on. We'll see, maybe. As you can see here, there's actually a little bit of grease from the old one. I'm gonna go ahead and take some of the grease from my OEM one and just kind of slap it on there. Cool. There we go. Alright. You can see they're similar in size, but in weight, I mean, here, picking this up, it's fairly light, and grabbing the Boomba and picking it up, I mean, with 4 fingers, like, it almost wants to slip out. It's got some serious weight to it. In this step, we'll be prepping the roll pin to go back into the shift plate. What you want to do is separate the smaller pin from the larger pin, and what you're going to use is a 4mm socket and a punch that will fit inside the larger roll pin. So go ahead, place that 4mm socket on the shift plate, place that pin assembly into there, and then you're going to go ahead and use that punch to drive out the smaller pin that's inside, and you'll go ahead and separate the two pins just like so. So just a little friendly reminder here, when you're separating the smaller roll pin from the larger one, make sure you use a punch that will actually fit inside the larger roll pin. I had accidentally used a punch that matched the size of the larger roll pin, and I got it stuck. So just be sure to find something that will actually fit inside the larger roll pin without getting stuck when removing the two pins from each other. So I basically had to come up with a step to remove them. But if you do get them stuck, I'll go ahead and kind of show you what I did to remove the larger roll pin from the punch that I got it stuck on. So in order for me to remove the larger roll pin from the punch I got it stuck on, what you can go ahead and do is grab vice grips or pliers, something that you can go ahead and kind of grab the punch with. And basically you want to hold the punch in there like that with the roll pin just resting on the edge of the vice grips, pliers, whatever you got. Go ahead, walk out to curb, workbench, something nice and sturdy. Basically set it down, get a decent grip on there, go ahead and tap on it, and it should free it. Cool, yeah, so just go ahead, come out on the curb. And that's how you take out the roll pin. So just a word of advice, use a punch that's small enough to fit inside the outer roll pin so it doesn't get stuck. So you guys can learn off my dumbass. Anyways, I apologize for the poor audio. I had to go ahead and do a voiceover. I had a fan on. Anyways, to get the larger roll pin back into the shift plate, go ahead, grab just that large roll pin, place it on what would be the bottom side of that shift plate closer to the pivot point as you'll see there. Use a punch, go ahead, tap it in, but obviously don't tap it too far as that pivot point still has to fit through the hole there. So just go ahead and double check that your pin is about halfway in or pre-inserted. but won't obstruct the actual kind of shifter going into place there.
Okay, back underneath the car, the large roll pin is inside of the Boomba, the short shift plate. So now we're gonna go ahead, sneak it back on. So as you can see here, the shift plate is in place. The large roll pin is in at least halfway, so now we just gotta finish punching it in. Okay, so now we can go ahead, take a 5mm punch, go ahead and get this roll pin back in place. So with the 5mm punch, we've gone ahead and knocked it in. 5mm punch is a little bit too big to get the small roll pin back in place. We're going to go ahead and use about a 4mm to go ahead and put this in. Go ahead, get some needle nose or something that'll reach far enough in there for you. Get a good grip on it. Come in here and kind of guide it into place with pliers. Okay, so back to the 4mm punch. I'll try and get a little bit better of an angle for you here. It's basically how this is gonna look. For most of you guys, this will be easy, using a hammer with the right hand. But I've noticed if you actually kind of brace your hand up against this transmission support, it makes it a little bit easier to knock that roll pin without the punch coming off of where it needs to be. So go ahead, tap that until it's flush with the shift plate there. You can go ahead and do a quick little test. Make sure, holy shit, wow. It moves a lot easier. So you can tell with all the counterbalance that it should shift a lot nicer. Anyways, we will go ahead and start putting everything back into place. So first off will be this actual shield. Not even too sure if it'll even fit, but we'll give it a shot.
Come on, I ain't gonna preach too long. Ain't gonna take the service too far. My sermon this morning, hell to the no, no, no. Come on, hell no. To the no, no, no. Hell to the no, hell to the no. To the no, no, no. Listen.
So I went ahead and tried doing a little bit of a test fit for you guys to actually see. And at least in my experience, this shield that goes over your shift plate isn't actually going to work. If you want to fabricate your heat shield to fit over the shift plate, go ahead and do so. I'm not too worried about it. So now we can go ahead and bring our shift cable and bring that back to where it needs to be. You can go ahead and so if you remember that washer that I told you not to lose. Okay, so once you actually have your shift plate on and your roll pin is back in place, you're gonna go ahead, take that washer I told you not to lose, and that actually came with the Boomba shift plate, and looks like it's a little difficult to slide on. Fucking shit. It's slippery with all that lube, if you know what I mean. So it's a little slippery, kind of hard to get. Okay, so now our shift cable is back on where it needs to go. So something I've noticed, it'll be a little bit easier if your shift plate is in this like middle setting, as if the car was in neutral, not too far up or down. and that should make it a little bit easier. Okay, so you can see cable is back on that pivot point. The shift plate is in basically the neutral position, so it's right in the middle. Makes it a little bit easier to get this cable bracket in place. If the shift plate is either in up position or down, you'll actually see it either puts tension on the cable or you gotta take out some slack. So now we're gonna go ahead and put this back on. You can see there's that hole right there. And so we're gonna go ahead, line up your top bolt first. So the top bolt's in place. Now we can go ahead, and if I can ever find the hole. So if you slide underneath your axle, up here underneath the transmission, you can get a little bit better angle and actually see what you're doing. And you can get this bottom bolt into place on this bracket. Go ahead, hand tighten it at first, then look for a 12mm wrench or a socket, whichever. Sweet. So now go ahead, take that 12mm. So as you can see, if you have these wrenches that actually pivot like that, it'll get you a little bit access to these bolts. That would make it a little bit easier getting access in and out if you got larger hands. I got really small hands, so it's been easy enough for me. So we've tightened up the bottom bolt, so now I'm going for the top. And so it looks like what we're gonna have to do to reach that angle is go ahead and come in here with your 12mm socket. So a 12mm socket with like pivoting U-joint. Go ahead, get an extension, and we should be able to come in here. This install is 10 times easier if you're not trying to balance a camera on your head. So just a word of advice. And obviously you want to give your hold the socket and the U-joint like so. That way you can add a little bit of torque to it. So a little advice on the safety pin. What you're gonna want to do is come in from the right side, find the hole, get it where it needs to be, finish sliding it all the way in. It's kind of a pain. Sorry, I'm blocking your shot. So on the safety pin, you can go ahead and look carefully. You want to make sure you're in that camel hump, that little smaller bump. You're going to have this hole here and that middle hump. You're going to want to make sure that this piece of metal sticking out, part of the shifter assembly, make sure it's in that little middle hump. And then you're going to want this, you're going to want your pin to naturally fall with this extension hanging down, and that's just a little safety that catches. So you're going to want to come in with the tip from the right side, right to left, slide it in place. Make sure that gravity naturally makes this little safety catch. That way it's not going to be falling off. The only thing we've got left is to go ahead and put this little shift plate heat shield thing. So you go ahead, take this bracket, once again, it's going to be easier if your transmission supports are out. If you don't have small hands, tighten by hand, come in with this wrench, snug them up. So, as I stated before, this is a little bit too big to actually fit over our shift plate. It's just not going to happen with the Boomba plate. Correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments. If it does work for you, cool. As you can see, this plate here actually works with the Boomba shift plate. It looks like they've actually kind of put an edge on this to allow it to rotate how it needs to. So, anyways, we've gotten the shift plate, the cable assembly back in place, and I've gone ahead and done it all with these transmission supports in place, just to kind of show you it's possible if you have some smaller hands. So it's definitely doable with these transmission plates in place. If you got larger hands, you want some more room, go ahead and take these off. I would also recommend, if you have access to a shop that has a frame lift or something like that, go ahead, go to a shop, pay the extra, just so you can be able to do some standing work. Laying down, it's a little bit hard to get the leverage you need to cover everything. Once you've got the shift plate installed, go ahead, hop in your car, go ahead, just give it a quick little test, make sure you can get through all the gears. Just go ahead, go 1 through 6, check if reverse is good, wiggle it around in neutral, see if anything feels weird. Just make sure you're able to go through all the gears. Everything works for me, so just a quick little test, make sure that you got everything back on the way it's supposed to go. The only thing left to do is install this heat shield back where it needs to go. So just to kind of show you, the wider part goes towards the rear and the hump will go up. It's basically where the mid pipe meets up with this. You're going to want that hole just over that connection. And then there'll be the 4 bolts. Sweet, now those 4 bolts are on. Cool, so now shift plate's on, everything's buttoned back up. Go ahead and put your shift plate with other stock parts just in case you may ever need it again. Sweet. So now we're just going to go for a little test drive. Kane. Come on, let's go outside. Grab your leash. Grab your leash. Get your leash. Come here. Can you sit? Can you sit? Good boy. Alright, we're going to go for a little ride. Stay. Hey, come here. No, come here. Hey, come here. Ready to go for a ride? So I'm actually visiting family down in Mexico. Cool little place to visit if you ever do. But we're gonna go ahead and do a nice little lunch for you guys and see how it feels. So here we go. just feels good. Damn, so during that launch, I mean, first gear, obviously didn't really shift into it, but coming out of first into second, nice and short, second into third, same thing. I mean, you barely had to move it, went right into gear. Yeah, so anyways, we took Kane. I took Kane with me to actually visit my family in Mexico, and needless to say, he loved it. What do you say, buddy? Want to do it again? Cool. So we'll go ahead and actually try and get some actual footage from inside the car, what it looks like for you guys. So, yeah. Alright, so here we are inside car, 17 WRX. We got the Boomba short shift plate installed. Got Kane here. So, yeah, Kane said I can't launch, so we're here to prove him wrong. That's kind of roughly what those shifts are going to look like. Obviously much shorter, crisper, feels good. I mean, you can see from there. Go ahead and do a little downshift. We can go third to second, second to third, third to fourth, fourth to fifth, just real nice and short, fifth to sixth. I mean, this is freaking awesome. Thank you, Boomba, for the shift plate. Awesome part. I mean, for $100, this completely changes the dynamic of your driving. I mean, bang for your buck, $100. Go ahead, go get yourself a Boomba short shift plate or a Perrin short shift adapter. The Perrin one, from what I hear, is a little bit notchier. It's not weighted, it's just a smaller part. I mean, you guys saw from the install video, that Boomba shift plate is no joke. I dropped it on my face, busted my chin. It's got some serious weight to it. Definitely helps out between those shifts. Yeah, so would definitely recommend it. I don't know, Kane, what do you think? Hey, Kane, would you buy it? If you had thumbs and you could shift and you had a car, would you buy it? Of course you wouldn't, Kane. Anyways, figured I'd go ahead. So that's my in-car review of the Boomba short shift plate. Kane got launched into the back seat. It's been fun. So if there's one thing I could recommend, definitely get the Boomba short shift plate. And thanks for watching.